But let's go and let's talk about the top 20 recruiters. So the first one up is Michigan there in row 3. Definitely third best historically in the Big Ten. Their 5-year rank of 3.8 is a little bit better than Penn State's 4.4. The last 10 years, they've only fallen outside the top 5 in the recruiting ranking only once. That was 2018. And I would term Michigan as consistent, but not elite. They do have the second best Big Ten 5-year winning percentage, though, right? So 81%. And obviously, with the huge years that Jim Harbaugh had his last 2 or 3 years at Michigan, help with that. Let's go look at nationally, JR, to that table. So you're going to see that Michigan's a top 20 recruiter nationally for sure. They only fell outside the top 20 only once the last 10 years. That was in 2018. So very consistent. And in fact, they've been top 10 6 of the last 10 years as well. So Michigan has a chance to even be a little bit better. Their 5-year average national rank is 12.2, which is third best in the Big Ten. But really promising, Sharon Moore, his first class this year, his first real class, a number 6 ranking. That's the second best national ranking for Michigan over the last 10 years. So it's really promising. I'm noticing that with Michigan's recruits, much more stronger national presence, going up against your Georgias, Alabamas, and Ohio States of the world more often, right? And so they've really raised their profile. And Sharon Morris has a chance to maintain that. He just needs to win on the field now to keep that momentum going. Let's go to Penn State next. So very close behind Michigan. They're basically the 4th best recruiting program in the Big Ten. Over the last 10 years, they've only finished outside the top 5 just twice. And then their average over 5 years in the Big Ten is 14.2. Average is 4.4. If you go to the prior one, JR, go to the Big Ten table. They have a 4.4 average ranking. Consistently in the top 20. Also, if you look nationally, they're consistently top 20. And I think what you notice from Penn State, the bottom line is good but not great recruiting. They are overall 14.2 as their national average. So 14th rated in recruiting. And when you think about what Penn State has done, they've always been outside of being able to do the 14 playoff. Good enough to beat the good teams, but not the great teams. This is why the 12-team playoff is huge for them, right? You saw it this past year. They made it. They're not recruiting to that level where they were going to make a 14 playoff very often, but they certainly can make a 12-team playoff. And the other factor is, though, they've struggled against top 5 and 10 Big Ten teams. One of the reasons is they're not recruiting like a top 10 team. They're just outside of that. So you're going to see Penn State, you would expect, come up a little bit short against your Ohio States of the world, even your Michigan of the world. And that's exactly what's happened here. The difference this year, though, is they've retained a lot of players that would have went pro last year, right? So that's why this is a huge opportunity for James Franklin to kind of break down that door, break down the stereotype, and maybe break into the top 10 in recruiting, where he's going to need to be if he wants to consistently or maybe go 500 at least against an Ohio State. He's going to need to do that. We all know if you look at Penn State's winning percentage, 5-year winnings percentage, it's 70%. Again, good, but not great, right? In the reason it's not better, he's 4-17 against Michigan and Penn State, right? That's the thing holding him back. So 4th clearly in the Big Ten for Penn State. JR, any comments on Michigan, Penn State as top 20 type programs in recruiting?
Yeah, really interesting. Michigan and Penn State. Michigan kind of been up and down a little bit. There's another team that we'll mention here in a second that's been up and down a little bit, but their winning percentage is about 20 percentage points lower over the past 5 years. So I think that does make a difference. It also speaks to the coaching that those two teams have had. But Michigan, I mean, this is one of the things that you were expecting was going to happen with a Sharon Moore, right? A young, energetic coach in Sharon Moore. You worked hard to get NIL in a good place with him. And and that happens. So once you do that, it's not uncommon that you're going to find the second best recruiting class in the past 10 years for Michigan happens in his very first year. Combine that with a recent national championship as well. This is what it's going to bring for Michigan. And now I think the goal for Michigan is, can they crack the top five, right? They just got number 6. Can they crack the top five? Can they be in there? Can they be around the top five for a few years? It's very, very competitive recruiting now in the Big Ten, especially amongst these 3 or 4 top programs, especially with certain players, and very competitive NIL. Michigan has good NIL, Oregon has good NIL, Ohio State has good NIL, and there's other factors that make that good as well. Penn State for me is interesting, kind of been close to 15, 20 a few times, also get down to 6th a couple times there. So that does spell good for them, but you're right. I mean, this is a team in Penn State that they need to hit that next level, and they probably need to do that in recruiting before they do that on the field. Or if they could do it on the field first, they're probably going to need a little bit of a drop off from somebody like Ohio State in order to make that happen. If they can make that happen, that'll be huge for them. But Penn State also runs the disadvantage of being in what's it called, state college or college, yeah, state
It's a
college.
very small town.
Very small town, hard to get to. It's not like it's right there close to the airport, so that can make things a little bit more complicated for recruiting visits. But James Franklin has done the best he possibly could to try to do that stuff for Penn State. Not in the most talent-rich state in the world. I mean, it's still a good state for high school football. Not the most talent-rich state in the world. It's not Georgia. It's not Florida. In a small town, for him to be right around top 10, top 15, outside of top 15 only 2 or 3 times, it's impressive what James Franklin's done.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Should we go to the next category, or do we have any comments we want to hit?
Oh, let's see. Got Daniel commenting a good amount. Let's just bring one up from Daniel. Says, in theory, every bottom feeder pays NIL to 1 or 2. That's 15 to 30 players Ohio State and Michigan don't get. So he's saying if the teams in the lower part of the Big Ten could just get their NIL together and get 1 or 2 players, that would be 15 or 30 players that Ohio State and Michigan wouldn't get. I mean, possibly there is also the aspect of NFL development and stuff like that, like Jeff mentioned. So that's there as well. But you're right, Daniel. I mean, if all these teams got everything together, that would certainly be something that could impact things.
Yeah, I think these bottom teams need to strategically say, if there's one position that's really holding me back, and it needs to be a premium position, obviously, like it's quarterback, it's defensive end,
right?
It could be a great cornerback to fill a hole. That's where they need to be strategic and just say, we're going to just pay up and just get a guy, right? They're just not going to be able to do it across the board. And then hopefully combine that with an experienced team. And then you can have a really amazing year potentially, but kind of like a one-off.
Correct. And Brooks also brings up, he says, how do you fix a school that has to pay NIL for 29 D1 programs, but you say have Alabama, who only has 9 D1 programs? That's a lot of money for football. Everyone else, football is number 1. Yeah, I mean, this is part of what happens in the Big Ten. The Big Ten has some other sports that they allocate funds a little bit more often. The SEC kind of has baseball, basketball, and football. Football's number 1 for all those programs, but in the Big Ten, you have some programs that, want to pay their basketball more. You have some programs that, I mean, hockey is a big thing for a number of Big Ten programs. It's probably not the most, but they do pay a good amount there. I mean, you look at Penn State, Iowa, those programs are spending money on their wrestling program in addition to other stuff. So, I mean, then you have the gymnastics and everything else. It's the same issue that Stanford ran into with NIL there for a while, and I don't know if they've got that figured out yet. I don't follow Stanford close enough, but I remember them talking about it a little bit. So, any thoughts on the large amount of D1 programs in the Big Ten versus the smaller amount in other conferences, Jeff?
I just think every Big Ten school has their niche, and beyond football. I mean, you need to be good in football though, so you got to. And all the other programs will get it. They're going to get the bulk of the funding. And then it's up to the school to decide, well, which niche areas are we going to be strong in? I went to Indiana, so we are always really strong in soccer, really strong in swimming, certain sports, baseball, not so much really, right? And I think you could go school by school in the Big Ten and find that there's not many that are good across the board. Ohio State's probably might be one of the better ones in the Big Ten of being good across the board. But you got to fully fund football. That's the money driver, and everyone knows it.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing from certain programs right now is they're saying, look, even if we don't give as much to our basketball program, our football is going to make more money, which is going to fund everything for
Yep.
us. And so you have to give more money to football to make money for some of the other ones. So it is what it is.